Good
Oh
morning,
yeah.
guys. Today I have a special guest on a podcast today, Sam.
Good morning, Noah. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
Doing very well, thank you.
Yeah, so unfortunately, David couldn't join us on the podcast today, but yeah, we're still pulling through. So,
Yeah.
Sam, I think we should start by defining, first of all, what a monopoly is for those who don't know. So, do you want to go ahead with that, or?
I Sure. I believe a tech monopoly is when a company has a lot of power using a platform, right? So they have power over the industry, I with a certain area. So let's say Instagram has a monopoly in social media, right? Tell me if
Mm-hmm.
I'm going off track. But I think Instagram has a monopoly with social media, Facebook as well.
Yeah.
Whereas,
Well, Facebook owns Instagram, so
yeah, true, yeah. And So I think that's what a monopoly is. I think it's a company that has a lot of control over a certain aspect of the meat of technology,
mhm.
if that makes sense at all.
Yeah, and I think it's also important to note that for those who don't know, a monopoly isn't necessarily inside the tech industry. Lately, most monopolies have been formed inside the tech industry, since the tech industry is like one of the least regulated. Um, a
Yeah,
yeah, a big part of the reason is because the government, like you know how a lot of seniors run the government, right?
yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of them don't really understand technology like as well as young people do. So it's kind of hard to put regulations on something they don't fully understand, which is why it's one of the least regulated industries, causing it to have the most monopolies. Um,
And
go.
sorry, no, but I just want to add to what you said. It's really true. I think there's a disconnect. There's a generational disconnect, I think, between young people and older people. That, as you said rightfully, like these are people that are controlling the tech monopoly. I think that there is a quite a broad range of disconnect between. I think it's a generational thing.
Hmm.
One example, I was reading this article the other day um, about young people in the workplace. Uh,
Hmm.
Young people want technology. They want access to bean bags. They want access to iPads when they're working. They want access to a high performance laptop.
Yeah,
And these older supervisors, these older owners are not used to that kind of energy, right? They're like
yeah,
work, work, work. And young people today tend to have, a really, really, they want to have fun at work,
yeah,
right? That's the number one thing. And technology is a big part of that. And so there is, I think, a generational disconnect
yeah,
between the supervisors, the owners, and the employees themselves. So
yeah,
I think it's also a very big generational divide as well.
yeah. Well, it reminds me, whenever I watched, I watched trial, the Zuckerberg trials. I rewatched the first one in 2016. That was over privacy, right? And
Yes.
like you know how the Congress people were like grilling him and stuff. And one of them, I found it like because some of them were like asked really good questions and others like not so well. For example, there was one member of Congress who was like more elderly, and he was asking like very simple questions that I like he could have just Googled, to be like completely honest. Like one
I,
of
I
the
think I think you're referring to Gerald Nadler, possibly.
um is he I want to say senator from New York?
Yes, yes, he's the chairman of the Judiciary Committee.
Yeah, no, it wasn't him. I know who you're talking about, but it wasn't him. It was I don't remember what his name was, but I know it wasn't Nadler.
No, I watched it. I watched the hearing. I agree with you completely,
Yeah.
Noah. I think, and I think also, and I watched the hearing just before we got on here, and one of the things that I noticed was they didn't know basic information. As you
Wait,
said, you're
are you
absolutely right.
talking about the Zuckerberg meeting or the antitrust one that happened recently?
I'm talking about both of them.
Oh,
I think that there was this. I think they couldn't even know basic
mm,
answers. They're like, so how does my browser know where I am? It's like,
yeah,
well, because your location's turned on. Like
yeah. I
these
mean,
are things that they should know.
the, yeah,
As tone, but other questions were actually relevant.
Yeah,
You know, the
exactly.
members of Congress were asking good questions, but I just think people should inform themselves without
Hmm.
before appearing in front of a committee like that.
Well, there was during the first Zuckerberg trial, there was like one of the elderly like gentlemen like who was part of the Congress. He literally asked Mark Zuckerberg. Well, I mean, he might have asked more, but there's two that I specifically remember, just because of how like irrelevant they were. The first question he asked was, "Is Facebook free?"
Oh,
I know.
oh,
He could have
oh,
literally taken 30 seconds and
oh.
went on the App Store and literally see like that it doesn't cost money, or just Googled it too. Yeah, like it would have literally taken 30 seconds. And then Mark Zuckerberg is like, yes, Facebook is free. And then he's like, okay, so how do you make money? That was like literally right after he asked how do you make money. And then he's like Zuckerberg, he had a small like smile because he tried not to laugh. Like you could tell. But he's like, oh, we serve ads. He said something like, oh, we serve ads, Senator, or something like that too.
I, I I just find it, with all of the with that hearing and all the other hearings, I find that some answers are spoon fed, some questions are spoon fed to the people, the witnesses, at those kind of hearings, and
Mm-hmm.
I just find that that's important too. You have to find a balance. You have to ask, you need to ask questions, but you also have to be informed. And I agree with you.
Yeah. 'Cause I
I
mean,
mean, when you go down to the level of is Facebook free, just goes to show you you shouldn't be at that committee hearing. You shouldn't be in
exactly.
if your questions surround if your first question is Google free and how does Google make how does Facebook is Facebook free and how does Facebook make money? You shouldn't be at that hearing.
Yeah, I completely
Don't
agree.
have relevant like it's like me going in the finance committee when I'm really not good at math. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I don't understand why he would ask those questions though. Like maybe like obviously this person is like like not very tech savvy. So like maybe he couldn't have Googled it, but he could have just like asked like his like I don't know his wife or like his daughter or something. You get what I'm saying? Or like his
Yeah, no,
son or
yeah.
something. And like, oh, is Facebook free? Like, how does this work?
Yeah, it's still funny to me.
Yeah.
Still funny. That question is just
I mean,
hilarious.
yeah. I mean, I don't want to like make fun of people who like aren't like tech savvy, but like if you like don't know whether like Facebook is free or not, like you should really do that research before you just go toe to toe with the CEO of Facebook.
Yeah, it's kind of important.
Yeah, I mean, like if you don't know like how like technology works and you're not very tech savvy, like like that's fine. You get what I'm saying, right? Like there's nothing wrong with that, but like you should at least be informed if you're gonna like be present at these meetings, like extremely important meetings.
No, absolutely. And if I'm not mistaken, I think these meetings were to review the policies surrounding the privacy, right? The
Yeah,
privacy stuff
yeah,
on it. Also, the fact that there was a lot of anti-Trump ads on Facebook, right? Something
yeah,
like that.
and also a lot
Um,
of pro-Trump ads on Facebook.
that's true, yeah. So I think this is an important hearing, and I think the people that are conducting it should at least know that Facebook is free. You
Yeah,
know, and I think if you look at the question that he asked the witness, he had so much seriousness in his eyes and in his face. He
oh
was
yeah,
asking a serious question.
oh yeah.
It was a serious question. It wasn't like he was being sarcastic. It was a serious question.
Yeah, and there's also another meeting that I watched. Do you know who Sundar Pichai is?
Yes, the CEO of Google.
Yeah, so it was one. This was I think it was like a few years ago, maybe. I don't know. It could have been earlier, but it was Sundar Pichai, and he was in front, like testifying in front of Congress. It wasn't the recent antitrust meeting. It was a different one. But basically, so this Congress like guy, okay, he asked like he is it's his turn to question Sundar Pichai. He pulls out his iPhone, okay? He's like, "Here is my iPhone." Now, first of all, like it's not even the right company, my guy. You get what I'm saying, right?
What was it? A BlackBerry?
No, no, it was an iPhone, but it's not even like he pulled out an Android, which Google owns Android, or even like a Pixel phone, which is like, made by Google. Like he's literally taking out the competition here. You get what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
yeah, like it's not even like it was an Android, like which Google partially controls. Like Google
Right.
controls part of it, then like Samsung or Huawei or whoever your manufacturer controls the other part, or even a Pixel phone, which is like 100% Google controlled. Like he's really taking out the iPhone, which is like, you get what I'm saying? Like Google, like out of the box, there's not that much like Google software within an Android phone.
Oh no, absolutely no. You're right.
Or sorry, not an Android phone. I meant iPhone. Sorry.
Yeah, no, they don't even own it. Like,
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah. So whenever, yeah. So earlier I meant iPhone. Like, there's not that much Google software on an iPhone. Like, the only one I can think of really is that Google is the default search engine for Safari.
right.
But and also I think you can set up your account for your like contacts will automatically back up to Google servers. But I mean like on an iPhone. But other than that, I don't think there's any other pre-installed Google stuff.
Yeah, I mean, when I purchased, I have a Samsung Galaxy. When I
Mm-hmm.
purchased my phone, Google Chrome was right on it, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
No, right. I mean, Google or yeah, Google partially owns Samsung, right? Like,
Yeah. Well, yeah. Google like Samsung is like completely separate from Google, and what they do is that Google they own Android, right?
yeah, yeah,
So then they charge Samsung a fee to use Android. And then what Samsung does is that they can use Android, but they can also add their own stuff on top of it. That's why you also see stuff like Samsung Notes and like you have to add a Samsung account because they bought the Android software from Google and then they added their own stuff on top of it too.
that's really cool stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, anyways, as I was saying, so yeah, so he pulls out his iPhone, which has like little to no Google software like on it whenever it's out of the box. And he's like, "Okay, so I have my iPhone here. If I go take a walk over there and join my colleagues on the other side of like the on the other side of the room, is Google gonna know that I went over there?"
I saw this question. Yeah,
And then Sundar Pichai is like, well, it really depends. It depends what Google software you have installed on it. It depends on your privacy settings. Like, no, 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 no. I don't want these maybe what if questions. I want a definite yes or no. If I go and see my colleagues over there on the other side of the room, will Google know that I moved over there? And he's like, well, I really can't answer that. It depends on whether you have Google Maps installed on your phone or not, or what your privacy settings are. And he's like, no, 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 no. I want a for sure yes or no answer. And I
yeah.
don't know.
These are clearly people that should not be at this hearing.
Yeah,
Let's just put it that way. These are people that are clearly
yeah.
uninformed.
Like,
And look, it's not their fault. Maybe, they grew up in an environment where technology wasn't their forte, and that's fine. They should be at another committee hearing. But I
yeah,
think when it comes to the safety and security of the American people, you need, or any people, you need people that are experienced. You need people on that committee that are going to have experience, that can ask relevant questions, that are going to get the American people answers. And
yeah,
I think putting people that are asking those type of questions, because Sundar Pichai is right. I mean, depending on his privacy settings, depending on what kind of settings he had at the time, um, there's a possibility they could have or not have known
yeah. I
where he was,
mean, cause like
right?
he,
So it depends. Sundar Pichai is absolutely right. It depends of your settings, and people that don't understand that, people that are on the committee and don't understand that,
mhm.
maybe they grew up in a different generation, but they shouldn't be on the committee. Absolutely not.
Yeah. Well, I mean, because I remember like whenever you first get an iPhone, okay, like you obviously you can go to the App Store and you can get like Google Maps, you can get Google Chrome, Google Photos, like different things, right?
Yeah.
But like just like the guy he didn't say like, oh, I have Google Maps on here or I have the Google app or like stuff like that. So like it really made it difficult because like out of the box by default, really the only thing Google can track on your iPhone would probably be your Google search, like what you search on the internet, because they're the default search engine, but they can't get your location, they can't get any of that because Google Maps isn't pre-installed. But this guy, he's just like, so I have my iPhone here. If I go over there, like, can you track me? And like he didn't know like what Google apps are on there, like what the settings and stuff like that.
Sorry, it's funny.
Yeah, but to be fair though, like I believe his heart was in the right place. You get what I'm saying? Like he was trying to get like a definite answer.
I'm sure he was trying to get like answer for his constituents. Like
Yeah,
I'm sure he's actually worried about it, and he was
yeah,
just trying to do the thing. But my point is, and I think what you're trying to say too, is you should have people that are experienced
yeah.
at hearings, and I think that in that case, and I heard the question, I heard the answer, I know what you're referring to,
Hmm.
uh, and I just feel like that wasn't appropriate for him to be at that kind of hearing.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like, yeah, he had the right intention. It's just the execution was,
Was
uh,
not fair. Yeah.
yeah, the execution was not too good. Yeah, but move on though. Yeah, monopolies aren't like necessary. Like they can be outside of the tech like industry too. Like they're not only in the tech industry. Like, do you know what Standard Oil is?
No, I do not.
Okay, it was basically like the first monopoly ever. Because like monopolies didn't really become a thing until the Industrial Revolution. Because what would happen is that you'd have like a bunch of before the Industrial Revolution, it wasn't as easy to produce and expand to as big of a scale. So you'd have, depending on the region, a bunch of small companies. But then what
And
ended up happening is that um, once the Industrial Revolution came into full effect, and you could produce stuff at mass quantities and move it all across the country, that's whenever monopolies started. And there was uh, Standard Oil, and basically what they did is that they found a oil rig in Pennsylvania, I believe it was. And what they ended up doing is that they ended up buying a bunch of smaller companies until like basically the entirety of like Pennsylvania, like they own all the oil fields in Pennsylvania. And then what ended up happening is that they started growing and growing, right? And they started eating up all these smaller companies. And then basically like they just kept growing bigger and bigger. And then whenever they wanted to like start doing business on the west coast and like out west, what they did is that they started bribing the railroad companies to only transport their oil. So now they were like basically one of the only oil providers on the west coast. And one strategy that they use, which Amazon has been accused of also using, is that they lower their prices so much to starve out the competition. For example, let's say me and you, we both sell, I don't know, give me an example. Um,
do you want to use oil as an example?
yeah, I mean, yeah, that seems the most fitting, but yeah. So basically, let's say me and you, we both sell oil, okay? But my company is worth, let's say, $6 billion, and yours is worth like 50 million, okay?
Yeah.
So what Standard Oil would do, and Amazon has also been accused of doing, obviously not with oil, but like with other products, like for example, their diapers. I'll explain that a bit more later. But so basically, yeah. So what I would do in order to get people to buy mine instead of yours is that I'd lower the prices, okay? Then
Yeah.
obviously you would want to keep the customers, so because of the laws of competition, you would also lower your prices, right?
Yeah. So then one of us would you try to starve me off, right?
Yeah, because what they would end up doing is that it would keep doing that, but at a certain point, you can't lower your prices anymore, else you'll lose profit, right?
Exactly.
So then what happens at the big company, so in this case Standard Oil, they lower their prices so much to the point that they're losing money. Like they're continually losing money with every sale. So then what happens is that you have one of two choices. Either you sell your company to me, you declare bankruptcy, or you lower your prices where you also lose money. But then all of them is a dead end because if you sell the company, then corporate oil just gets bigger. If you declare bankruptcy, it's less competition for corporate oil. And then if you decide to lower your prices even more, it's just a game of who can go bankrupt faster, which will obviously be the small company because the big one will have very deep pockets, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so literally, yeah, so so that's literally what they would do. They would try and buy everything, and whenever a company didn't want to sell, they'd lower their prices so much to the point where they're losing like millions, sometimes even tens of millions of dollars, and the company just, obviously the small one will go bankrupt before the big one.
Yeah.
So yeah, but then corporate oil, they ended up owning like I think it was like 98 or 99% of the oil industry before they were broken apart too.
Wow, that's pretty interesting. And I think with that too, just staying on the topic of oil,
Mhm.
um, I think that it's important to grow, and this goes to technology as well. It's important to grow your technology sector in your country.
Yeah.
Um, I'll give you an example, and I won't go too far on this tangent, I promise. But
Mhm.
let's take Huawei as an example.
Yeah.
They want to create the 5G network in Canada.
Yeah.
And as you, I'm very sure you know, they've been
Mhm.
accused of spying
Oh
on
yeah.
other countries, spying on its people, spying on the government. So, to me, Huawei is not very trustworthy. I
Mhm.
personally, I won't trust Huawei to
You
run our 5G, and conservatives have been saying it for a long time now. But absolutely not. I don't think Huawei should be running just because they're a dangerous company. But the other reason why I don't think they should be running is because we have startups in Canada,
Mhm.
in the tech industry in Guelph, in Windsor,
Mhm.
in in
Waterloo.
in Waterloo, sorry, that want to start. They have the
Yeah.
money, like funding to provide 5G, and they would be able to provide 5G.
Mhm.
I look at companies in US like T-Mobile that are already, willing to do 5G, and I believe President Trump made it illegal for Huawei to put in their 5G. I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
he signed executive order doing that, and I think that was a great position to take.
Mhm.
I disagree with him a lot, but I think that was a good decision. Um, I'll also say that I think instead of going to other countries to get your resources to start growing the economy in other countries, well, let's grow our own.
Yeah.
We have startups right here in Canada, as you mentioned, in Guelph and Vancouver, that really just want to do the right thing, want to produce 5G. They don't want to spy on people. Let's fund those companies instead of funding a Chinese government, communist Chinese government owned.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, they're technically private, but they do have links to the Communist Party.
Right, yeah, and you know what? They're currently detaining two Canadians arbitrarily
Yeah.
in Beijing, simply because we don't want to release Meng Wanzhou. And I just think that we shouldn't bend down to China. We should stay
Mhm.
strong and say, we're going to help out our companies here. And I know, Noah, you mentioned you want to start a startup,
Yeah.
and I want the government to be subsidizing startups. I
Yeah.
want the government to be helping you,
Yeah.
in helping out other countries. And you mentioned oil. Right now,
Mhm.
we're buying billions and billions of dollars from the Saudis in oil, when we can be creating jobs right here in the country in Alberta.
Yeah.
Uh, so,
Now I don't want to make
all,
this too political, my guy.
no, I'm not going to make this political. All I'm saying is that there is huge opportunity for growth in the tech industry in
Mhm.
Canada, and I
Well,
just find it fortunate that we're not subsidizing um, startups in Canada.
yeah, well, in fact, I was on my iPad. This was a few weeks ago, maybe even a few months ago. Okay, but I was on my iPad on the App Store. Okay, and you
Yeah.
know how there's like all kinds of different like categories like on the homepage of the App Store. So it's like oh, keep yourself organized, or oh, movie night in, like shit like that. And there's a bunch of apps for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I found one that was really interesting. It's like made in Vancouver. So it was a bunch of
Wow.
different apps made in Vancouver. And then I found out that one of my favorite games growing up, like one of my favorite video games, it's called Don't Starve. And it's kind of like a survival game, but there's like more mythology inside of it. Like for example, there's one character, okay? Whenever it's a full moon, he'll turn into a werewolf or something, right?
Yeah.
So like, and you can also like go underground and you'll find like stone people or like crab people underground and like there's these like ghosts and monsters and stuff. So but it's like also at its core, it's still a survival game. So you have to like survive. You need like you need warmth. You need food. You need different stuff, right?
Yeah, so that sounds like a really interesting game.
Yeah, it really is, and like you can like make like you can like start farms and stuff, and like you can go fishing, and it's really cool. And I found out that apparently that game was made in Vancouver.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So like one of my favorite games growing up was made in Vancouver, and yeah, and there's a lot of interesting startups here in Canada. Well, I know Shopify. Shopify is based in Ottawa, and because of the pandemic, you know how e-commerce is like driving like a lot, is like really going up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
with Amazon and all of that.
yeah. So Shopify, because of the pandemic, it became it briefly overpassed. I believe it's no longer like this, but it briefly overpassed I think the Royal Bank of Canada as the most valuable company in Canada. Although it could have been, it was some Canadian bank, but it briefly overpassed it for like a few days as like the biggest company in Canada.
Really?
Yeah, but it's now like they're still like second. I think like they dropped back down, but yeah, I found that really interesting.
And one of the things I find in tech industry in general is that there's so much potential to the tech industry.
Yeah.
Uh, Precisely, I think of Montreal as a city. It's currently thriving. It's actually growing in
Mm-hmm.
terms of popularity. It's growing for companies and all of that. So I think yes, Silicon Valley is important. Yes, California is a very important element to the growth of technology and technological companies. But I also think that we should also focus on growing companies who are at home in Canada, and
Yeah.
also companies that are wanting and cities that are wanting to get where they are. As an example, I think you mentioned somewhere in Southern Ontario, where
Waterloo. Yeah. That's
Waterloo, yes, indeed, where they're developing technology.
yeah.
I just hope that they get a chance to
Well,
get where they should be going.
Waterloo. The best tech university in Canada is the University of Waterloo, and also I'm not sure. Do you know what Kick is?
No.
Okay, it's like this messaging platform. I never used it, but I believe it's sort of similar to like a similar idea to like Facebook messages or like something like that, where it's like just like an online messaging platform. And it was based in Waterloo. Now they ended up. I'm not sure if they sold to like a foreign company or ended up going bankrupt. But yeah, there was Kick. There was another company, although I don't remember which one it was. But yeah, I mean, Kick had like a couple of million users around the world. So it was like it was like medium-sized company. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah. So I mean, yeah. There's and also I know how you said that there's like a lot of interesting things happening in tech. I'm not sure if you watched this, but do you know who Marquez Brownlee is?
No. No.
Okay, he's like one of the most. Yeah, he's like one of the most influential tech YouTubers. Okay, and he had a video where he actually like interviewed like Mark Zuckerberg, okay?
That
Um
should that I am expecting that would have been very interesting.
oh, it was because he basically the way he explained it, because he only had 15 minutes because Mark Zuckerberg's a super busy guy, and
Yeah.
so he put aside like 15 minutes for it, and he's like basically what Marquez Brownlee was like. He's like, so Facebook, you own Facebook, you own WhatsApp, you own Instagram, and you own Oculus. For those you don't know, Oculus is like a VR headset company. Yeah, for those of you who don't know, but anyways, what Marcus Brownlee was like, he's like, so you see, Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp, they're all interesting and whatnot. But I really want to know is like, what's your plans to do with Oculus, right?
Yeah.
And
How are you going to merge that
yeah,
together?
well, basically, then what Mark Zuckerberg said, which is extremely interesting, he's like, so virtual reality is really, it's really cool. But what we're because like how the whole idea of Facebook and stuff is like, how can we connect people?
Yeah.
Yeah, so basically, what he's like is that he's like, so what my vision for Oculus is because like, if you're looking at other companies like Apple and like Google and stuff, they're working on these smart glasses, okay?
Yeah.
And these smart glasses, they're pretty interesting because it's basically like a smart watch, but built into your glasses. So, for example, you're walking down the road, okay, and you can just see like like it doesn't obstruct your view. You see fine. But for example, whenever you get a notification come in on the inside, like on the side, you'll see like new text message from, let's say, Jeremy, for example, or like from Austin, new text message. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. It kind of reminds me, sorry to go here, but it kind of reminds me of Marvel with Spider-Man.
Oh yeah,
When
yeah, yeah,
Mr. Stark gives in the new one, the one with Tom Holland, one of my
yeah.
favorite Spider-Mans, and he gives him glasses, and in the glasses he can see. I know that this is not at the level that Mr. Zuckerberg is discussing, but it's pretty cool how technology that's
Yeah.
used in sci-fi like Spider-Man can be actually used in real life.
Actually,
It's incredible.
yeah, I'm actually glad you brought that up because it's very similar. Like you'll have like a pair of glasses, which this pair of glasses I'll be talking about the Apple glasses, because Google had their own prototype, but they ended up abandoning the project. But Apple, they're working on the Apple glasses, and Tim Cook, how he has like glasses and stuff.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, they're based off the design of Tim Cook's glasses. So they'll look like a regular pair of glasses. You put them on and like you're walking down the street. On the side you'll see text messages come in. Then you can ask Siri on on your glasses like what's the weather? And then it'll you'll have on the side a little weather panel come up and like it'll be like, let's say, a sun and like it's 25 degrees Celsius. And also you can ask Siri like, oh, what's my heart rate? Then your little like heart rate will come up in the side of the glasses. So it's basically like a smart watch, but on your glasses. You get what I'm saying?
yeah. And the other really cool thing that you mentioned virtual reality. One of the really cool things I've seen on the market is in this pandemic times, the government has restricted travel, so
Yeah.
you can't go to big cities and anything. It would be handy to have VR, right? Because you can
Hmm.
put it on, be in a totally different country. You can kind of look around and play games with like VR, or instead
Oh
of
yeah.
traveling, instead of having to travel somewhere, maybe Google can do something like they can put Street View in VR.
Oh
That would
yeah.
be pretty
Yeah, that'd be
like
pretty
put
cool.
in virtual reality. I think they've
Yeah.
already done that kind of thing.
Yeah.
They can put Street View in virtual reality. You can kind of just look around, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's like you're really. You could put Times Square as an example, and it
Oh yeah,
really
that'd
feels
be
like
nice. That'd be cool.
that would be really cool if they
Oh
could do
yeah.
that. So,
Yeah, that actually that's a pretty good. Yeah, it'd be pretty
mm,
cool. Yeah, well, what I was telling you about where it's kind of like a smartwatch but on in your glasses, like don't lie, that's pretty cool. Like we'll both admit that's pretty freaking cool.
it makes you feel like Spider Man.
Yeah, like literally, like I never thought of that, but then whenever you mentioned it, I'm like, oh yeah, like it's almost exactly like what the new Spider-Man suit is.
Yeah,
Like yeah, but like like I'm not joking, it's almost exactly. But like that's what Apple is working on with the Apple glasses. But basically, I don't know. I think they call it Apple Glass, but anyways. So Mark Zuckerberg on the interview, he's like, yeah, like Apple Glass, like that's cool and all, but at Facebook, we want to take it from the stance of how you can connect with people. Okay, so he's like,
yeah,
see, he basically said he's like. Facebook, we might make our own version of like, smart glasses where like, it's kind of like a smart watch on your wrist or sorry, a smart watch in your glasses or anything. Or fuck, I can't talk today. Um, he's like, Yeah, we might make our own version of that where it's like a smartwatch, but like in your glasses. But we want to take it one step further, okay? And this next part that you said blew me away, okay?
Sure.
So whenever you talk to someone, either through virtual reality or through a video call, you can see and hear them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but like that doesn't have like the other elements. So you can see and hear them, but you can't smell what's happening. You can't taste what's happening, and you can't. There's no like touch. So like they can't like you can't like like for example if they have I don't know like you can't shake their hand for example.
Yeah.
Now what he said, he's like our end game for Oculus, because our goal here at Facebook is to connect people. We're gonna try to bring all the senses to virtual reality. So
Wow.
basically, yeah, I know. Basically this is what he imagined it like. Okay, he's like, so imagine if you see I hand you something. So I'm inside my living room on my virtual reality headset. You're inside your living room, and then I hand you something. Like I'll take a box and I'll hand it to you. Then you physically take it, and it's inside your living room.
How does that? I
Exactly. I don't know how the hell, dude. That's pretty much teleportation at that point.
Yeah, I don't know how they're gonna do that.
You,
It really sounds cool. It really
yo,
sounds, it really brings me back
yeah,
to those sci-fi movies.
and yeah,
You know,
oh yeah,
it really, yeah, it really brings me back to that. I know,
yeah,
and it's a really cool thing where you can see messages, and you're mentioning Siri too.
yeah.
Um, what made me think of Spider-Man instantly is that he asks the girl on it to do different things, right?
Yeah, it's exactly like the Spider-Man costume,
This
like literally.
or I don't know what the command was. It was like missile that, and then no, I don't want to do it. So
Yeah,
that kind of. So it's really cool,
yeah,
uh, and I think that it could be very beneficial.
yeah,
The only concern with that is that it could turn into something like we've seen in the past where these machines are listening to private conversations.
yeah, that's a problem. Yeah,
My only concern, when does the microphone turn off, or
yeah,
does it even turn off? So if they're going, if this is example a CIA or an FBI agent,
hmm
they have to be wearing the glasses and they're going into a meeting with the director of the FBI. Are the glasses going to stay on or off?
yeah.
What's the trigger to turn off the microphone? Is there
Well,
even a trigger to do that?
I
You know,
know on the second gen Google Home Minis, so like the Nest Minis, they have a
yeah,
physical switch to turn off the microphone.
that's
Cause
good.
I have one at my house, and like literally, if you want, like let's say you're having like a super serious conversation, you can literally turn off the microphone, and the lights on top will go orange to notify you that like it's off. And also, like I kind of want to go back like like what Mark Zuckerberg was saying, because like I found it like really interesting, like how like think about how cool that is. Like you can hand stuff to different people.
Yeah,
Yeah, and another example that Mark Zuckerberg gave, he's like, okay, imagine that you're inside, like you have a house, okay, or sorry, you have a couch, okay, inside your living room. Then you put out the holograms of about five different people, and they're all sitting on your couch, okay, and then you
and you
whip, sorry,
and then you speak with them like they were actually there.
yeah, but what he said, what that's even cooler, okay, is that you
I
have a
mean, and
hall. Go
sorry,
ahead.
sorry, but in these COVID times, that would be so cool.
Yeah,
You
but
got people that can't go and visit their loved ones.
But
And
he took it a step further though. Like I don't mean to interrupt you, but he took it a step further. He's like, so you have 4 to 5 people that you have hologrammed on your sofa. Then you whip out a deck of cards, and then you start handing out the cards. And then where they are, they actually pick up the cards that you gave them.
wow,
Like you like literally the card basically teleports from your living room to their living room whenever their hologram picks it up.
that's
Like
pretty cool.
bro, if you think about that, that's nuts. For example, like,
But look, you see, I can believe that. But a physical box being transferred
well, no, no,
from
these are
person to
physical cards I'm talking about.
sorry,
These are physical cards. You literally take a normal deck of cards, you shuffle it, then you hand it out, and then they pick it up, and then where they are in their own living room or wherever they are, they have the physical card.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
That really. But you know what? Technology keeps surprising me. I mean, one day I feel like we're going to be taken over by robots. Automation is going to be there. You know,
maybe.
it's going to be part of our daily lives. I think
Yeah, well,
eventually.
I'm trying to think of how this is gonna work, and not gonna lie, it could not be that far away of the Oculus. Like inside 10, maybe 20 years, that could happen. Because I'm not sure if you noticed, but apparently they've already cloned a goat.
What?
Yeah, apparently they've cloned a goat, or they've
What?
teleported it. I'm not sure. It was one of the two. But basically, what they did is that I think it was either teleport or clone, but they took the goat's DNA, and they basically copied the entirety of the goat's DNA, then placed it somewhere else. It's
I mean,
really weird. But the thing
I
is
mean,
that, go
sorry.
ahead.
Sorry, I was just gonna say, as you said rightfully, we're in an environment right now in 2020 where technology is just so advanced. It's part of our daily lives.
Yeah,
We're so interconnected. And as you said, and I concur with you, I agree with you.
yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised by anything. I think we're at the point where, and we're thankful for it.
Mm-hmm.
We're connected. And what you're talking about, people in your family, you can just kind of just like kind of a teleportation kind of thing. That would be handy in a COVID
Oh
environment
yeah,
where people can't see each other, or just in any environment
yeah. Oh
where
yeah.
you be in Beijing and
You're
your
in.
family in Ottawa,
Yeah,
right? And Beijing, you can just basically bring them into your office in Beijing and talk to them and play cards or just
yeah.
talk to them. It can be super handy to unite and bring families together.
I mean, yeah.
And it could also be handy. And one of the things too that I mentioned earlier was, if you know about this, is there any idea that Google Maps may like put their services into like VR headsets to maybe like simulate
Well,
if you're somewhere like in real life,
there
like
was Google Glass, but that ended up being a fail. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if there's Street View on inside Google Maps or like Google Earth or anything. I'm not sure. VR like version of Street View.
but it'd
Uh,
be pretty cool, right?
oh yeah, that'd be pretty cool. But yeah, but I think you know how I said that they cloned the goat earlier,
Yeah,
or like I'm not sure if it was cloned or teleported, but they're probably gonna use similar technology because if you think about it, if you start you like it's not safe to use that on animals, right?
yeah,
Or even humans, because like this is extremely new, and whenever you you like copy paste someone's DNA, basically like basically their molecular like makeup, um if something goes wrong, then who knows what's gonna happen to that person? You get what I'm saying?
yeah.
But whenever you do it with, let's say, a deck of cards, if let's say the atoms or whatever they get screwed up on a card, it's not like it's a living object. It's like it's just a playing card. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, but if
Because
it's on a real thing,
yeah,
it could be profit.
because that is probably what they're going to use. Because you got to remember that whenever you use this with a person, like what Mark Zuckerberg is planning, you guys are still physically and distant in like different places. You get what I'm saying? Like let's say I'm at your house. I'm at my house, and you're at your house. I just have your hologram here. You're still technically at your house. I just see your hologram. But whenever I hand you the cards or I hand you like a box, that box will physically teleport to you, but you're never in my house. So like it won't do anything to your structural makeup, but the box, which is a non-living object, it will do it in order to teleport it to you. So let's say something goes wrong or something, you're still fine, but the box wouldn't be.
Yeah,
Yeah. So I mean, because like let's say like the object, it's fine. Like if it gets screwed up, 'cause like it's not like it's a living like being. If you get what I'm saying.
yeah, no, yeah, I know that it's an object, so it's not a living thing. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. I think we got way off track here.
but it was still interesting. It was
Oh
still
yeah, yeah, yeah. That, like, yeah, it was
technical.
super cool. Like literally, it, it's just so cool. Like you can literally like, you're in the side of virtual reality of someone. You just literally like hand them something. Yeah.
It's really cool.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, do you know what I think it's going to be used most for? I
What?
think like let's say you have like let's say you're in let's say I don't know San Francisco or like Portland or something, and you have family members living in I don't know Sydney, Australia or Tokyo, Japan. Okay, like usually whenever it's like their birthday, like you'll like for long distance like families, like you'll either you'll just send them a happy birthday text, maybe uh animated birthday card through email, or maybe even you'll send them something by Amazon, right?
Yeah.
But this, like, just think about it. Like, you can actually,
Hand it.
like, huh?
You can actually hand it to them.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow. It's
Like,
although the thing I would like to see would have to be, this is top of my list, top of mind for me personally,
hmm
would be the Google Maps idea. That would be for me the
hmm
thing that I would be the first person to buy.
yeah.
Yeah. Anyways,
Um,
super cool stuff.
yeah. Also, yeah. So, I mean, I don't know. Personally, I'm looking more forward to like in the more near future. Like, this should come out in like a few years. The Apple glasses. And Facebook, like like Mark Zuckerberg said, he's like, oh, we might do our own version of like kind of like a smartwatch, but on your glasses. I would probably buy those. Not gonna lie.
Well, depending on the cost, right?
Yeah,
For me,
well, yeah, on the cost too. But the thing is that the Apple glasses, like they're gonna be expensive, but for what you're getting, like they're not gonna be like it's not gonna be outrageous. Like the estimated price is $600 to $700 for Apple glasses.
that's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean it's expensive obviously, but still for whenever you look at like how cool this stuff is, and it's just gonna look like a normal pair of glasses, that's
Yeah.
pretty good. And you know what's even like like a good comparison is that right now Microsoft, they have their own like they have basically the same thing. They have a virtual reality headset, or will technically be augmented reality. But what it does is that it's the same thing as Apple glasses. You can ask Cortana to do different things like what's the weather. You can interact with your Microsoft calendar. You can read your emails whenever yeah, someone sends you an email or something, like it'll appear. It has like Microsoft like services built in, such as like OneDrive, OneNote, Outlook Mail, and stuff like that. And it's basically the same thing as what Apple glasses are rumored to be, but there's two very big differences. One is that this Microsoft one, which already exists, is big and bulky. You can't walk down the street with that. Like it's just like like it literally looks like it's bigger than a regular virtual reality headset. So like you can't walk down the street with it and like be discreet as you would with like Apple glasses. And also the second biggest problem is that the Microsoft one that's currently on the market is like $3,000.
Yeah, and it's really interesting. I would like to see, the development of these new kind of projects. It would be interesting to see where they go.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be really cool. But I mean, Apple usually they keep stuff secretive until they're ready to release it. So that's kind
Right.
of unfortunate for us. Okay, so let's get on to the subject here. So today like we kind of want to talk about Microsoft and their problems with antitrust, Amazon, Google, Apple, and Facebook's recent antitrust hearings, and also this last one isn't really a monopoly, but something that I think is worth mentioning is Samsung and like how big they are in South Korea. Like they're one of the or the biggest pillar like of South Korea's economy. So do you want to start off with Samsung?
Yeah. So Samsung obviously is a company that I believe. Do you mean the antitrust meetings?
No, no, I'm talking about Samsung because they're not a monopoly really, but I think it is really interesting to see how dependent South Korea is on that particular company.
Okay. Yeah, so Samsung, obviously, as you mentioned, is from South Korea, and I think a lot of the, I think Samsung is a sophisticated company. I
Mm-hmm.
think they have a lot of products that they develop. Example, TVs, I think, is one of the top ones. I think one of the top ones that people immediately think of when they think about Samsung.
Yeah.
Uh, the other thing too is TV, is the phones, cell
Oh yeah,
phones.
yeah.
I personally have a Samsung Galaxy, as I said, um, and I love it. It has everything I need. The only complaint though that I would have about Amazon, or Amazon, sorry, that I would have about Samsung, sorry about that, would be that there are certain apps on my phone that I do not want or need. Example, Samsung Pay, or
Oh, I love
uh,
Samsung Pay.
Samsung Internet. I don't need that. I have Chrome,
Yeah.
or I have a debit card. So I don't need certain apps, and my phone Samsung won't authorize my cancellation of these apps. So that would be my only complaint.
Yeah.
Uh, Samsung with cell phones, there are certain actions as the user that you cannot take,
Mhm.
and I find that quite unfortunate. That would just be me for Amazon and for Samsung. I don't know why I keep saying Amazon. For Samsung, that would be, I think, my top
Yeah.
complaint.
Well, I don't know. I know what you're talking about. Personally, I really like Samsung Pay because it uses NFC, which is the same technology that credit card readers do. So I can literally, even if the place doesn't technically allow mobile payments, I can use it on any regular or almost any regular credit card machine.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, like, as far as I know, all the other pay apps don't have that. Like, if you compare Apple Pay, Google Pay, and Samsung Pay, as far as I know, Samsung Pay is the only one that does that. But same thing for sorry, Samsung Internet. I agree with you there. Like, I do not want that.
Yeah.
But you want to know what's
And,
what?
and
Sorry.
I'm just and this goes to trust too. Like and if the user doesn't need something, the company should be able to let the user delete. The
Yeah.
they should be able to let the user delete the applications that he or she does not need.
Mhm. Well, on my because before I had a Samsung, I had a Huawei phone. And Huawei is even worse for bloatware than what Samsung is. For those of you who don't know, a bloatware is what we call these apps on your phone that you don't really want. And there was two that really made me angry. Okay, one or actually no, this one you could remove, but I don't know why they put it on there in the first place. It's called the Mirror app. Okay, and literally what it is, it's the same. It's literally your selfie camera, and you can add effects around it. So it's literally just like your selfie camera, but there's like a portrait around it too.
So could you delete it?
I could delete that one, but one that I couldn't delete was the Microsoft Swift keyboard. So basically,
That's annoying. Where you like slide your finger in different letters. Yeah, that one's
oh,
annoying.
oh, I like that. I like that one. That's the Google one that you're mentioning, but damn, man, I like that one.
Uh, I just find it, yeah. I mean, that's up to interpretation.
Yeah.
Personally, I don't like it, but
No.
everyone's allowed to have what they like and don't like.
Personally, I do like it, and that's the Google keyboard, which they call Gboard. But that's the one I liked. But whenever you get a Huawei phone, you have two keyboards pre-installed. You have the Gboard, and you have the Microsoft Swift keyboard. What the problem is that you can't uninstall the Microsoft Swift keyboard, which really made which I didn't like because I'd be running low on space. I'm like, okay, I never use Microsoft Swift keyboard, so I'll get rid of it. But apparently, the reason that you can't get rid of it is because it's if ever you were to reset your phone like to factory settings, like completely reset it, that's the keyboard that I would be looking for. So if you uninstalled it during the setup of your phone, you would literally have no keyboard.
Oh,
Yeah, apparently that's the reason for it. But I don't know, but I feel like they should add somewhere in the software that like you can get rid of it, and then if there was ever a factory reset, it would be like, okay, Microsoft Swift keyboards in here, but what other keyboards do we have? And it's like, oh, we have Gboard, so let's just use that. You get what I'm saying?
yeah, no, I agree. And I think, we were talking about the antitrust meetings before.
Mm-hmm.
I think it also trust. At the end of the day, the companies need to trust their users. Their users don't want apps. The
Mm-hmm.
users should delete the apps that they have.
Yeah.
I and I think you raised the point about the swipe keyboard. They should, they should put a they should put a different keyboard if the user wants to restart their phone completely. There should be another option to another keyboard.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what I mean. Like the reason that
Yeah,
they have not for deleting is it's a good reason because you don't want to set up your phone without a keyboard. What they should do is like add some more lines of code that basically says, well, if the Microsoft keyboard isn't there for whatever reason, then just use whatever other keyboard is on the device. You get what I'm saying? Because that would be like a good workaround. Yeah. Now. Here, to move on, because we're kind of running low on time here, I think we should start talking about Microsoft and
right.
their antitrust meeting that they had in the early 2000s.
Yeah,
So, I believe I was already talking to you about this, but whenever in the early 2000s and like the 90s, whenever the internet was first starting to being rolled out to the general public, and it wasn't just like a tool it wasn't just for the government and like companies your average person started using the internet. You
yeah,
had two very big browsers. You had Netscape, which I believe ended up turning into Firefox if I'm not mistaken, and then you have Internet Explorer, which as we all know was came on Windows computers. um and what it ended up happening is that Microsoft wanted, control over the internet because they already had basically a monopoly over the personal computer, like over what people use as their operating system. So the next logical step for them would have been the internet. But what ended up happening is that Netscape apparently was just so much better than uh Internet Explorers. So everyone was choosing Netscape over Internet Explorers, and obviously they didn't like that. So what ended up happening is that they're like, okay, well, since most people use Windows, we're gonna put Internet Explorers as the default Windows browser, or the default internet browser on Windows. So then most people they'll just use Internet Explorer and they'll be happy with it. You get what I'm saying?
yeah,
Yeah, and what ended up happening is that while they did get Internet Explorer usage up by a lot, apparently it still wasn't good enough for them. So what they started doing, which was really quite sketchy, is that they made it harder to download other browsers on your Windows computer. So if you wanted to download Netscape, they intentionally made it harder and more complicated for the users to install Netscape, which ended up turning a lot of people away. You get what I'm saying? And like that's where a lot of people started, to raise an eyebrow.
yeah. I'm just reading the actual congressional document. So United States Microsoft,
Yeah.
and referred to as a landmark case of antitrust intervention in network industry. That's what it's.
Oh yeah.
Um, yeah, that's what it's referred to as. So,
Yeah.
uh, sorry.
Oh no no, it's all good. But Microsoft ended up losing the case, and I believe for like one or two versions of Windows, they weren't allowed to have like Internet Explorer as like the default one or something. I don't know, something like that. But obviously, as you know, like later on, they ended up putting it back in. But the only reason why like Congress, like whenever they put it back in, Congress didn't care is because by that time Firefox was a viable alternative. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah. So basically, yeah. So like that's pretty sketchy if you think about it. Really, like for example, right now, if you're on, let's say a Mac or a PC, or really even mobile, like Android or iPhone, you can switch your default browser. I mean, in iOS 14, because before on Mac, Windows, and Android, you could switch your default browser, and on iOS you couldn't. But with iOS 14 now, you can switch your default browser from Safari to let's say Chrome if you want it, or even Microsoft Edge if you wanted to.
Okay,
But
that's a good thing. It gives the user independence, gives the user the ability to choose what he or she wants to do. That's good.
yeah, exactly, yeah, and which is, I mean, on in older versions of Windows, like whenever this antitrust case was happening, you could still do that, but Microsoft intentionally made it more difficult, so most people wouldn't bother.
Which is illegal.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, and that's why they lost the case. Because I remember, because I have a Mac, and whenever I was installing Brave, for those of you who follow the podcast, you know that it's my favorite browser. It's my browser of choice. It was literally so easy. You just, you went on the internet, you downloaded Brave and installed it. Then you like any other Mac application, you drag it into the apps folder. And then the first time I opened Brave, there's a little pop-up. It's like, Brave isn't your default browser. Do you want to make it your default browser? Then you just click that and boom, Brave with like literally takes me like 1 or 2 minutes and Brave is already my default browser. But on apparently in these older versions of Windows, you in order to make Netscape or any other browser your default, you had to jump through all kinds of hoops and like apparently they also made it for the loading times was like super like to install the software was like way longer than it should be and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, so do you have anything else to add on that?
No, I just think that it shows the amount of competition that exists in a tech market. I mean, companies are, at the end of the day, they're all searching for the same type of market. And, the tech market is very much like a political market. Uh, Dirty things happen, you
Mm-hmm.
know? It's not very clean. Companies will do whatever they can to get that customer base. They'll do whatever they can, like politics, like politicians do.
Yeah.
They'll do whatever they have to get their base. Same thing with tech industries. They're gonna do whatever they want, even if it's illegal or it's dirty. And in this case, it just underscores that yes, in this case, in fact, they were dirty, they were illegal, they did actions that were not appropriate and that violated U.S. law.
Mm-hmm.
But it was ultimately to get the business, right?
Yeah.
So I just find it's unfortunate the way they did it. But at the end of the day, it was to get the business that they needed.
Yeah.
But that doesn't excuse their behavior at all.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Now I want to move to Google because they also their antitrust case also has to do with their browser, their Chrome browser in this case. You like as you know, Google is big on the internet. Like people use Google services all the time, and for some people, like it's like part of their daily routine. In fact, for most people, it's part of their daily routine.
Yeah, I go every day and I go into Google search and I type CNN or CBC.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
so it.
yeah. Go on.
Yeah, no, no. I was just gonna say you're absolutely right. I think for a lot of people, it's a daily thing. I'm thinking you and me, we were in school, and when we have projects, we don't go to the library and we look into shelves and shelves and shelves of books.
Hmm.
We just go out and do a research.
Yeah.
You know,
Well.
it's simple, it's easy. You get the answers that you want. You get trustworthy sources. So I do think that's a good thing. I mean, Google does obviously have problems,
Yeah.
but I think their monopoly on the market simply for searching and finding information, I think is very beneficial. I think it's a good thing.
Yeah. Well, I'm not talking just about searching. I mean, we use Google Classroom, Google Drive to store your documents. I use Google Photos to back up my pictures. You also have Google Calendar. You have YouTube even is owned by Google. Like all kinds of things. Like Google Maps, even like we were talking about earlier, very very useful. You get what I'm saying? So it's not just the search, but like all kinds of other things. Now, to be fair though, like for the search, while they do have a monopoly over search, there's not really any viable alternative. And
Yeah,
what I mean by that is that if you look at any other search engine is either not as good as Google is at finding information, organizing it, or they use technology very similar to Google's. Now, what I mean by this is that if you look at any other search engine, most of them just simply aren't as good. including Bing, for example. It's not as good as finding relevant information as Google is.
Yeah.
Like, and in fact, once apparently Bing used to be better, but then there was an investigation launched, and it turned out that the reason why it was better is because it was stealing parts of Google's algorithm for their search. So, yeah, and also if you look at, do you know what Baidu is?
No.
It's kind of like Google, but for it's a Chinese version of Google. If you look at Baidu, it's very, very similarly designed to Google, like extremely similar. So, yeah, so I mean, like, Google is doing fine, and like the only other popular ones is we'll say is Bing, because that's the default search engine whenever you get Microsoft Computer. So literally just because it's the default, it's popular. And then Baidu because it's so similar to Google.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, yeah, but like Google apparently they control like 90% of the search, but I believe the reason is because it's so much better than anything else you can get out there. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, another more interesting thing about Google I find is the Chrome browser, and like because whenever you get an Android phone, Chrome is usually the default browser, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like Samsung phones are an exception where Samsung Internet is the default browser, but on most Android phones, you have Google Chrome pre-installed, and you have Google Chrome as the default browser, and on almost every Android phone, you have it at least pre-installed, like you said on our Samsung devices.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that made it really interesting because the European Union didn't like that. So what they did is that they passed a law, and whenever someone in the European Union buys an Android phone, whenever you first set up your phone, they give the customer an option on which browser they want to use. So what it'll do is that it'll be like, what do you want your default browser to be? Then they'll have Chrome at the top, and then they'll have a few other options from the Google Play Store. So they'll have like Chrome at the top, and then they'll also have the option for Microsoft Edge, DuckDuckGo, Brave, you know, different things. They'll have like Chrome and then four different options.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a good thing that they did. I'm not a fan of the EU, but that's one good thing that they did. But yeah, no, I think it's good to give the customer an option. Like
Hmm.
what they think is the best thing for them.
Yeah.
Uh, no, I think I don't like when companies impose certain things on the customers because they're taking up gigabyte spaces on my phone, right?
Oh,
Like
really?
this, a or it's unnecessary space that they're using up on my phone. Just the app there, just the fact
Hmm.
that the app is there, it's taking up unnecessary space
Yeah,
on my
makes
phone.
sense. Yeah.
I'm not using the app, so
Yeah.
it's slowing down my phone, but I'm not using it.
Yeah,
You
makes
know,
sense. Yeah.
so it doesn't make sense that I can't delete it. So
Yeah.
that's obviously something that I'm against.
Hmm.
I don't I support what the EU did. People should be allowed to choose which one they
Yeah.
want.
Well, you could like even here, if you want to change your default browser on your phone, you can just go into the Google Play Store and change it. Like for example, I switched the one on my phone to Brave. I just went on the Google Play Store, installed Brave, and changed it. But what the EU did is that they're like, because we want more competition. Whenever you first set up the phone, you'll have different options.
So, what is Brave? Like,
I talked
I
about it inside the other podcast, but basically what it is that it uses Chromium, and Chromium is the open source base of Chrome. So basically, it's like what Chrome is built off of, but it's not exclusive. But Chromium is not exclusive to Google. So the base of Chrome is built off of it, but then on top of that, you have Google proprietary software, and that's what makes Chrome. But you can other companies can also use Chromium. For example, Brave uses Chromium as their base code. So Chromium is the base code for both Chrome and Brave, and also it's the base code for the new Microsoft Edge. And what that does is that it gives it a lot of the features that Chrome has. For example, Brave has a very clean look and feel, just like Google Chrome does, and it also like on Brave you can install extensions from the Google Chrome store. So like from the Chrome web store, you can install extensions on Brave because it uses the same base code. So yeah, so it's similar to Chrome in that way, but also it's much more secure than Chrome is and much more private. So you don't have like, Google tracking you as much. And also it's a lot faster than Safari and Chrome are. So that's why I use it because it's faster, it's more secure, it's more private than Google Chrome. But at the same time, it has a lot of the benefits that Google Chrome also has.
Cool, cool. I'll consider it.
Yeah. But I mean, yeah, so I think what the European Union did was good because, I mean, even though you can still easily go get another browser off the Google Play Store, most people just won't bother. So I feel like most people, it'd just be better if they gave them the option whenever you first set up your phone.
Yeah, sure, for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
Now, another thing I want to talk about with Google Chrome, which is even sketchier, is I think I already mentioned this to you, okay? But for a lot of people, many Google products are essential. Like they can't work without it. Like for example, a lot of people they'll use Google Drive and it's part of their workflow. If they can't access Google Drive, they just can't work. They can't do the work that they need to.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, and then yeah, a lot of people use YouTube, like to watch videos. They'll use Google Calendar to stay organized and stuff like that. But what ended up happening is that there was this big controversy, okay? Where Google knows how reliant people are on their products. So what they ended up doing is that they intentionally made bugs whenever you use it on other browsers other than Google Chrome. So for example, if whenever you use Chrome on Firefox or Microsoft Edge, for example, or sorry, whenever you use different Google services on Microsoft Edge or Firefox, there'll be certain bugs that Google purposely put there in order to make it more inconvenient for the user. Because you gotta understand, well, some people will complain whenever there's enough bugs. Most people will just switch over to Chrome, and then everything works fine on Chrome, and so then they'll just stay there. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Which it's not as bad as what Microsoft did with Edge, but it's still very very shady. Because they're like for example, there was like this developer from Firefox. He was complaining on, I think it was Twitter. But he's like, he reviewed some of the source code inside some of the Google products. He was looking at the code, and he saw bugs that were purposely put. Like this isn't just like, oh, it's like it's an accident, it's a bug, like it's just a mistake. Like these were specifically put there just to make the lives of Microsoft Edge and Firefox users more difficult, specifically for those users who would then switch to Google Chrome, which I mean is really, really fishy.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah. No. Sure.
I mean, yeah, I want to know what you think about that. Do you think like Google like should be able to do this because it's their services, or do you think like they should like respect people who want to use other browsers other than Chrome?
Sure. I mean, as I said previously, it's up to the person. It's up to the individual user's decision if they want to use the services that Google provide, or if they want to use another service. I think it should be up to the person.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah. So I mean, yeah. I find that kind of like scummy to do on Google's part. Like they're like, okay, well, if you don't want to use Chrome, then we're gonna purposely make bugs like for Firefox and Microsoft Edge. And yeah, I think also for Safari on the Mac though, but only on the Mac, not on iPhone and iPad. Because there was one, Google Hangouts and Google Meet.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was one YouTuber, I remember he made a video about this, and he's like, oh, I tried to use like Google Hangouts or Google Meet on Safari on my MacBook, and like you had to download some weird extension, and like it didn't work, and when it did work, it was super buggy. And Google most likely did that one on purpose, to be completely honest.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, as I said, they'll do whatever they can
Yeah,
to get the market.
yeah. I mean, they already control like 60% of the market. Like at this point, it's just like pure greed, if you get what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah. So now, I think we should move on. Uh, so we already went through Microsoft, Google. Let's go with Amazon now. So,
Okay.
remember how earlier inside the podcast I mentioned the diaper thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I know that's a little weird to drop without context, but um, basically, what ended up happening is that I think this was like 10 years ago, maybe even longer. There was people who bought diapers online. A lot of people were buying from Amazon, but they were also buying from this other online store. Okay. Yeah. And what ended up happening is that Amazon was losing a lot of business to this store. So what they ended up doing is that they'd have these sales, which were only supposed to be temporary, where they put it so low that Amazon would actually be losing money. But anyway, so it's okay to put a sale so low that you lose money as long as it's just temporarily, but you can't permanently have it like that.
No, because then you penalize other people.
Exactly. So what ended up happening is that they'd have these sales, but they'd have it like every day or every like week or so. Sometimes multiple days like in a row. Like they basically always have a sale on diapers. And basically what ended up happening is that it was so cheap that they were losing money. So then everyone they're like, oh, diapers on Amazon are so cheap. So they stopped going to this other online diaper store. And then this this diaper store, which I believe was the biggest like diaper store on the internet, ended up needing to sell to Amazon or else they would have went bankrupt. And if you remember earlier, this is extremely similar to the Standard Oil strategy of starving out their competition and then buying it up.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, what do you think about that? Like, it seems very predatory, but yeah, I want to know what your take is on it.
I think that um, you know, this concerns what we spoke about before, right?
Mm-hmm.
About fairness and about um, yeah, just about general fairness. You know, it's unfair that a company can uh, like do this to another one. It's horrible.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, yeah, I mean, it's like anti-competitive in its very nature. Like, it's almost a definite. It's basically the definition of a monopoly, really.
Yeah, 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 for sure.
Yeah,
And you know, the competition on the business market should be my my product is better because of this, not I my product is better because I penalize the other company. You know,
exactly. Yeah, exactly.
my product is better than okay, example, Google Chrome is better than Samsung Internet or whatever internet Samsung uses because it has this, because it has bigger tabs, because it can connect to drive, to maps, everything's kind of in
Yeah.
one place. So like that concept is okay. But the
Mm-hmm.
concept of penalizing other people taking advantage of other people, I think it's clearly wrong.
Yeah, because like yeah, like literally, they're literally starving out the other company. Like that's exactly what they're doing, and yeah, it's extremely predatory, and I'm pretty sure it's illegal too. But yeah, also other things Samsung or sorry, not Samsung, Amazon has done is that there's accusations that they're putting their hold on. I'm trying to think of a good way to explain this. So yeah, so there's the stuff that's made by Amazon that you can find on Amazon, but there's also stuff from other companies, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what now usually like most people are happy with this, but increasingly what's been happening is that Amazon is prioritizing their own stuff over other companies. So for example, there was one case that I heard of where there was this guy, he made muscle supplements, okay? So apparently like if you ate this like every day your muscles are supposed to grow, okay? Yeah,
Sorry
I
to sound
know. I know. I don't really believe in it much either, but like that was the product he was selling, okay?
Okay.
And he had tons of good. Apparently, he had good reviews from the people. I mean, I don't believe in it, but apparently, he had tons of good reviews, and most people were satisfied with it. Okay,
Okay.
and because of that, whenever someone people searched up muscle supplements, he was like one of the top ones. I think he was like second or third or something. Okay,
Okay.
so what ended up happening is that Amazon, they're like, okay, let's start making our own muscle supplements. And
Okay.
what they did is that because they're Amazon and it's their own muscle supplements, and they also own like the storefront basically, like they own the website. They put theirs at the very top, and they made it much bigger than the other ones. So then this guy's sales they dropped by so much more because whenever you searched up muscle supplements, you'd see a big one for the Amazon made ones, and then underneath you'd see smaller ones for the other companies.
Right.
Yeah, so I'm curious what you think about that because I know whenever I talk to like people about this, they'll go one of two ways. They'll be like, "Oh, this is unfair. It should be like equal for everyone. Like Amazon's products should be just as like showed off and showcased as much as the ones from these other parties." And then there's other people who are like, "Well, Amazon does own the website, so they should be allowed to put it at the top." So I'm curious to think what you think about it too.
Well, I think I tend to agree that I think equality is the top. I think everybody deserves to have their products exposed equally.
Hmm.
But on the other hand, Amazon does own the website. So I don't really have a position on that. I think both parties are right. I think there's reason on both sides. But yeah, no, absolutely. I think equality is important. But then again, if you want to showcase your products, then you should go on a third party, something that's not owned by
Yeah,
Amazon.
but that's because that comes into the problem what we talked earlier, where or not Samsung, Amazon starves out the third party marketplaces. So
That's
whenever
true.
you have that they're starving out the third market party marketplaces, like other websites, and also they're prioritizing their own stuff on top of uh like their competition, then there's kind of a problem there. You get what I'm saying? Like, even if they didn't starve out the third party marketplaces, even just putting their stuff way bigger than the competition on their own website is already sketchy enough. But both of them in combination, like third parties just can't win.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
I
there's
can see that.
and there's also these stories of Amazon. They're stealing technology from people from companies who use their service.
Really?
Yeah, like for example, this is a story that I heard of. So there was this Silicon Valley startup, okay? And what they did is that how you have like different like home devices, like you can have like Amazon Alexa in your home, and like she can control your light bulbs and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, other companies they're allowed to integrate their products into with Amazon Alexa. So, for example, let's say I wanted to make a speaker, okay, like a speaker for your house. If I wanted to, I'm allowed to integrate Amazon Alexa into the speaker. So I make it a smart speaker, and it's kind of like a win-win because I get to sell my speakers for more expensive because they're a smart speaker. And then Amazon, they have Alexa inside another person's house. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay, so there was this Silicon Valley startup, and what they ended up doing is that they wanted to make a smart microwave. So basically, it was a microwave, a very high quality microwave that had Amazon Alexa built into it. Okay, I mean not something I would buy, but it seems like a cool enough idea.
Yeah. No, it does.
Yeah. So, anyways, because at first, because third parties are also allowed to integrate Google Assistant into their own. Like if I wanted to make a speaker for the house, I could also choose to put Google Assistant on it instead of Amazon Alexa. But Amazon, because they wanted it to have Alexa, um, they're like, we'll do business with you. Like, well, I think it was like we'll pay you money or I don't know some kind of deal if you put Amazon Alexa on your microwave instead of Google Assistant, okay? So far, there's nothing wrong, okay? And then Amazon, they're like, okay, well, you know what? We really like your idea. So how about this? Because they have Amazon has their own investors program. They're like, we'll invest inside your company, okay? And then the people are like, okay, like this is really cool. Like Amazon is like really helping us, right? Like
Yeah.
they were like basically like friends, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, like they were basically friends. So like yeah, so like Amazon Alexa was built into this. They used it in Amazon Investors program, and also they sold this thing. I'm pretty sure on Amazon too. So Amazon was like really really helping them out too. And like they're like okay, like Amazon, like they're cool. Like they're really helping us out. Okay.
Yeah.
But then there was a problem because I think it was either like a few months or a few years after they finally came out with it. And like things were going great. Yeah, so Amazon came out with their own version of the same product. It was very similar design. It used Amazon Alexa integration. And once again, whenever you searched up for smart toaster on Amazon, the Amazon version of the product was way bigger than the original one. Okay, which I mean, like Amazon, literally made those people think that Amazon was their friend, and then this is like the literal definition of backstabbing.
True. Yeah. They kind of trick them. It's trickery. It's basically
Yeah,
trickery. Get
and
their way.
yeah,
Get their number one. Yeah.
and what's even worse is because they were part of the investors program with Amazon. Every quarter they had to give Amazon financial figures. So not only Amazon, could had the advantage already. On top, Amazon knew just how much they were hurting the company for they could know, okay, should we make it like even rougher for these guys or like what should we do? Because these people still had to put in their financial figures to Amazon. Yeah, so I think like within like a few months of whenever the new Amazon thing came in, this company's revenue dropped by 40%, I think it was. And I believe they went bankrupt specifically because of that, because they embraced Amazon and then Amazon stabbed them in the back.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Um, One of the things that I like about Amazon is the
Hmm.
fact that they have, but I feel like it's a little bit elitist, because there's the next day delivery for Prime members.
Hmm.
But what about all the other members? Like, what about all the other people on Amazon that are ordering
Yeah. True.
packages? Why can't it be next day delivery for them? So I feel like with Amazon, there's a little bit of elitist attitudes,
Hmm.
but Amazon is a good thing. You find what you need, you order it. If you're part
Yeah.
of Prime, you get it next day favorably. But there are still some things you need to
I mean,
fix.
yeah, I mean, Amazon, I like a lot of their products. Like Amazon Market, like the website is pretty good. Amazon Prime Video is pretty good.
Yeah, no,
Um,
Prime is awesome. I just finished a good series on it. It's
yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Prime Video is pretty good. I've never used Amazon Music, but I've heard good things about it. But yeah, but like their whole business model is like so like predatory. Like literally, like they have literal like they're doing literally what Standard Oil did. Then you have them coming in like backstabbing like their business partner. And there's even do you know what Amazon Web Services is?
No.
Okay, so basically, whenever let's say you make an app, okay, or you make a website, okay, you
Okay.
need to host it on a server somewhere. Now, you could make your own server, but this is not recommended because first of all, it'll run slow. So let's say I made a website and I put it on my own server. If you tried to access it, it would be very, very slow. And also, I'd have to maintain the server, which is a lot of work. And the security wouldn't be very good on it because apparently, because I program like certain websites and stuff, and I looked into putting it on a server, but apparently, if you don't have good security, there's literally Chinese robots. Like I'm not even joking about this. This has been like proven and confirmed. Robots from China that will literally like hack your website and your Wi-Fi router.
Really?
Yeah. They don't know who's doing it. All they know is that the robots are from China. So they don't know if it's the Chinese government or like certain Chinese companies or just, a random group of people. But there's these robots, these artificial intelligence robots from China who scan the web for websites that aren't on protected servers, and it'll literally hack your Wi-Fi router, which will put at risk all the devices that are connected to your Wi-Fi.
Damn.
Yeah, I know. So
So
go on.
no, I was just gonna say that companies can, find the safest way for their users to stay safe
Yeah,
and to confront
yeah,
the realities of what's happening on the net.
yeah. Well,
Today. And one of those is to make sure that the information that the user has is safe and remains safe.
mhm,
I think that should be top of mind for
yeah,
companies, and it's not always that way.
yeah. Well, you can still make your own server, and there's classes on good security software to prevent the Chinese robots from hacking you, but it's a lot of work. Like unless if you want to dedicate your full-time job to this, or even a part-time job, you're gonna many hours a week, and apparently on top of all that, usually home servers, they'll usually break down and stuff, so there's a ton of maintenance. So what you have is that you have what's called cloud servers, and Amazon runs one, which we're about to talk to. Amazon Web Services, Google runs one, Microsoft runs one, and basically what it does is that you're basically these companies, they'll be hosting your website for you, so you don't have to do all the server maintenance. You get what I'm saying? Like they'll take
Yeah,
care of all of that for you. You pay them a monthly fee, and then they'll let you host your website or your app on their servers, and they'll keep the Chinese robots out. They'll make sure it doesn't break down. They'll make sure that it's fast and easy to access for everyone, wherever they are in the world, which is generally a very good thing, right? Because it takes out a lot of. You don't need to do server maintenance. It's fast and it's reliable now, and you just have to pay a monthly fee, right?
yeah, yeah,
But now, so this is like a really good thing. But AWS, which is short for Amazon Web Services, is the biggest cloud hosting platform out there. And I remember during the congressional the antitrust meeting that happened not long ago, the Amazon was being questioned because apparently because whenever you do this and you host on their platforms, you in order for it just to work, you need to give those companies some level of access to your technology, right?
yeah.
And then there was accusations that apparently Amazon was abusing their access to that technology, and they were copying it. They were copying some of these technologies of their customers who use Amazon Web Services in order to integrate it inside their own products. Well,
Yeah, that should be illegal.
I mean, that's literal piracy. That's literally piracy.
Yeah,
So, just because think about it, you have let's say you make your own company, okay? And then you go and you're like, okay, well, Amazon Web Services, most people use it. It's extremely reliable and stuff like that. And then you put it on there, and then you find out that 6 months later or a year later, Amazon comes out with the exact same product as you, and they literally stole your technology.
yeah.
Like that's extremely sketchy. And I mean, yeah. So is there anything else you want to add about Amazon?
No, I think you summed it up pretty well. I think it's a company. Of course, it has some good things like Amazon Prime. You can find pretty much all that you want for what you need,
Mm-hmm.
but there's a little bit of a sense of I don't know how to say it, but there's a little bit of
Elitism.
sorry.
Elitism is what you said earlier.
Yes. I think there's a little bit of elitist
Yeah.
ideology there. Sure.
Yeah. Well, like I also said earlier, I like their products. It's just their business model. I just hate it. Like starving out competition, backstabbing partners, and stealing technology. Like
Yeah, no, for
this.
sure. That's
Yeah.
a bad thing. Sure.
Okay. Okay, so due to time restraints, Sam couldn't stay on to finish the podcast. Um, but yeah, so we weren't able to do talk about Apple and Facebook, which were two things that I really wanted to talk about. But yeah, if you're really interested, you could really search up the Apple case for the App Store, and you can search up all the stuff about Facebook and their being anti-competitive. You could do that on your own time. So if you're still watching this, have a nice day.